Hello, this is Christy Fulk again with Create with Christy. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. I'm here to share with you a card that I made using the Power of Hope bundle. This is what my ladies made here last month in my stamp camp. I love the look of this card, and I'm using a dice set that comes from the annual catalog that we've had for probably at least a couple years. And for some of you that bought it from Stampin' Up, you probably know which one it is, but just be thinking about it and let's see if I surprise you when I show you here in a little bit. So let's get started. Okay, the bundle I'm using comes from the Sale-A-Bration catalog. You can get the Power of Hope stamp set and the Stone Embossing Folder, and it's a 3D folder, so it has really good impressions. You get it free with a $100 order before shipping and tax. And I am a U.S. demonstrator, so that I'm quoting the U.S. prices. But it's a very good deal. Just for a $100 order, you get a stamp set and this really neat embossing folder. I love this folder. The folder makes the whole bundle. And I have to admit, this isn't my normal look for the stamp sets that I pick out, but I am having fun with this one. It's neat to work outside the box sometimes. You don't realize, hey, I kind of like this after all. And I've seen a lot of neat other cards made from other people too, so I'm looking forward to making this for you. And remember that dice set I mentioned at the beginning of the catalog, saying, I wonder if you remember which one it is from the annual catalog? It's Seasonal Layers. Remember it now? You can probably remember that beach chair because you saw that everywhere when this set came out. So what I'm going to be using is this branch here. And when I thought of these flowers, I thought, oh, I can make these look like cherry blossoms, which would be perfect for this card. So I'm using these 3 flowers here. And those are all the dies I'm using right now for this one. I'm also using a layering circles dies from the annual catalog, and I'm using the largest circle for that. So those are all the dies that we're using. Right now we're going to do some stamping first. I know this is a cling rubber stamp set, as you can see, but I like using my Stampin' Pierce mat whenever I stamp. I just like the way it gives me good support for my stamps. So I'm going to grab my 3 3/4 by 3 3/4 inch piece of Whisper White. I'm going to stamp this pagoda here. I'm going to grab my Tuxedo Black Memento ink pad, get that inked up, and see how it's not, I'm getting little bitty dots right there. I've learned with this stamp, this ink pad, I mean, if you twist it a little bit, that helps you get rid of that. And I've got some lines, so now I'm going to pounce over it to get rid of the lines. But see how that filled it in really nice. I'm going to stamp this, going to be right in the center, or I'm going to kind of go up and right is center, just a little bit. It actually works if you put it right in the center too, but that's ready to go. Then I'm going to take a piece, you can take a scrap, but this happens to be a 1.5 by 2 3/4. And I'm going to stamp my lady. Grab the Tuxedo Black again. That looks pretty good, and stamp her right here. Now we don't have a die for her, so I'll be fussy cutting this one out, but it's really easy to cut out. Okay, and let's go ahead while I've got this ink pad out, grab a piece of Whisper White. This is a 2.5 by 3 3/4. And I'm going to grab my Today is a Day for New Beginnings. Ink that up, make sure it's inked up pretty good. And I'm going to stamp it towards the right side. There we go. And while I've got it here, I'm going to grab my paper snips, and I just cut this at an angle like this. So that's ready to go. So I'll put that over to the side, put that in my little dish here. And now we're going to do some coloring. I'm going to go ahead and keep my scrap paper, because when you use blends, and which is what I'm getting ready to use, Stampin' Blends, it does help to have a scrap piece of paper. I'm going to go ahead and close this up because I don't need it right now. Don't want that drying up. It works better to have paper underneath it, because it does, when you color, it will soak through the cardstock. Normally it doesn't hurt your surface below, but I just put that on just in case. So we'll go ahead and get started with all my Poppy Parade colors. This is the Poppy Parade combo. I always start with a darker one, and I use the brush tip, but you can definitely use the blunt tip too, just depends on your preference. But everywhere I want it to be dark, pretty much where those lines are, I'm going to kind of go along those lines with my dark Poppy Parade. Okay, so those are all the dark areas. I'm going to add a little bit more right here. And now I'm going to find dark areas on her. I think it needs to be a little dark here and where these little creases are. So I'm going to go wherever I want it to be a little darker shade. Okay, that looks pretty good. So I'm done with my dark Poppy Parade. Now I'm bringing in the light. Now the trick is to get this to blend. I'm going to color over the dark that I put down first with the light shade. And that helps the colors, the shades I mean, blend together because they are both Poppy Parade. Oh, and I do believe, nope, that's good. I did miss a little spot that I want to do the dark. So I'll put a little bit right here and a little bit right here because I think that's kind of like an under thing. And this one I'm going to say this is the sunlight's going to hit that since it's pointing up. So I'm going to make that the light. You kind of have to think about where you think the sun might be hitting it. Okay, so I just kept going over the dark until it blended pretty good. And now I'm going to do the same thing with her dress. Actually, kimono. As you can see, I kind of went over the dark again to blend the shades. And then if you still want that, even the light to be a little darker, you can go over it again and it'll darken up a little bit. I have to admit, this set brings back memories for me. I used to be in high school musicals. I was in choir, loved them. And we did the Mikado, an abridged version of Mikado, and I got to play, what was my name? I can't believe it. It's been over 30 years ago. I think it was Peepo. That was my name. So I got to wear one of these outfits. It was kind of fun. So I have to admit, when I did this, I thought, oh, this brings back memories. Had to have my hair up and have that makeup on. It was fun. Okay, so I'm putting, this is my basic black Stampin' Blend, the dark one. And now I'm bringing in the light. So I just did a little bit of dark there in the middle. And then finished coloring in her hair. She's got a little bit of a bun, so it does kind of go up like that. Okay. I don't know if you can tell, but I can see a little bit of that shading in her hair. It's real hard to see, but it does give it a little dimension. Now on this one, I'm going to use my soft suede because I thought this should be wood. So I'll grab my dark, and wherever I think I need some dark. And one thing makes me remember, whenever you use your Stampin' Blends, you just use a light touch. I had these in classes, and this one you can tell it's starting to fray now. If you use it too hard, it does start to fray, and there's really no need to do that because it does a fine job just using a really light touch, and your tips will last a lot longer. This one's not frayed near as bad, so this one's going to be easier. So this is my light soft suede, and I'm going to go over that dark again to blend in the shades, and it just makes you look like an artist. I love our blends. And as I'm doing these little sticks here, if you use the really light touch, you can get a very thin line with that brush tip also. Another good reason to make sure you use a light touch. Now I'm going to bring in my old olive. Start again with the dark. I'm going to do some the ground down here, places where I think it should be darker. And I'm going to do the same with her umbrella. And I just forgot what these are called. I should remember that since I did that musical. If you think of it, comment below. I cannot remember what these are called. It's not a parasol. Oh, it's going to drive me nuts. Don't you love when you can't think of something and then in the middle of the night you remember it? Drives me crazy. Okay, so those were done with the old olive. Now I'm going to bring in the light and go over it and just kind of scribble this. And that kind of gives it, and like I said, I'm still using the light touch. And then I will fill in her umbrella or whatever that's called. Hopefully one of you will remember what it's called and comment so I can be like, oh yeah, that was it. So I won't lose any sleep. It's going to drive me crazy. And here, this one, you can actually see the dark a lot more. So I am going to really go over those to get it blended because I just want it to be a gradual shading. So the more you go over it, the more it blends in. Isn't that cool? I love that. It's like magic. Let's get it. I didn't miss a little spot here by her hair. There we go. And there's only one more thing to do. This is the Ivory Stampin' Blend, and I'm just going to do the part where her face is showing. So that's all the coloring there. I am going to be doing some more coloring. I might as well get that done. Let me grab, we're going to do an inside to this card. So this is a 4 by 5 1/4 inch, so 4 by 5 1/4 Whisper White piece. I'm going to use this really neat tree. Like I said, there's some really neat stamps in this set. I really like it. Do my little twisting so it stamps well. I'm going to put it here in the bottom left corner. Okay, and now I'm going to start coloring it in with the old olive. So everywhere there's a little line, I'm just going to put a little bit of dark. Okay, so I've done all the dark old olive. Now bring in my light and go over the dark and fill in the rest of it, and just keep going over the dark areas where the two shades meet until it's nice and blended. Okay, and then I'm going to add a little brown. So I'm just going to take my dark and just fill that in. I'm just going to use the dark one. There's not a lot of space to, and even kind of put some on that black line just to show up the brown a little more. So that's ready to go. Nice watercolor look. And so I don't lose this. See how it does seep through, which is what you want it to do. That means it'll blend better. Put my snail on here. And I forgot to do my card base. I usually do that first. This is an 8.5 by 5.5 inch piece of Poppy Parade. So go ahead and fold this in half. Open it up. And now I can put my inside in. So I don't want to lay this down somewhere covered up and can't find it later. There we go. So the inside is ready to go. I need to fold that a little better though. There we go. Now we're going to start doing some die cutting. We put those to the side. And some embossing. I'm going to show you a trick here. We're going to make a little window, as you saw in the card. And whenever you do a window, you want to do the die cutting first. So this is a piece of smoky slate. It's 4 by 5 1/4. I'm going to lay that down and grab my circle die. This is the largest circle in the layering circles. And I'm going to put it here right where I want it. It's near the bottom. I kind of made it so the borders here on the bottom, left and right are about the same. And run that through. You always, like I said, die cut before you emboss, because if you emboss and then die cut, sometimes it doesn't cut very well, and also you're going to smash the embossing you just did. So we don't want that to happen. So I'm going to save that circle for some other project. And now we're ready to do the embossing. Actually, let's go ahead and get all of the die cutting done, and then I'll show you how to emboss this here. That way you don't have to keep changing mats on you. This is a piece of basic black, 4 3/4 by 1 1/2. And then a Whisper white piece. You can use a scrap, but this one is 3 1/2 by 3. I'm going to grab my branch here for this one. And I'm going to start doing all of these flowers. You need 2 of this one. This is back when they only did 1 of each die. I think if they'd made this now, they probably would do more of these. I'm going to do 3 of the large one. And then 2 of these. So the smaller ones, you get 2 of each, and then you need 3 each of the big one. So I'll hurry up and do all that die cutting for you. Okay, so as you can see, I didn't need that whole piece, so you can do a much smaller piece. But I just want to make sure I had plenty of room for all my flowers. Okay, now we're going to do some embossing. And this is, like I said, one of our new 3D embossing folders. So you need to buy one of these if you don't have one already. It's a little thicker than the regular standard cutting pads. So I'm going to grab this piece again, and then my stone embossing folder. Stick this in here. If you've seen my videos before, I always look at this line. If I want to, this one, it really doesn't matter if it's not straight. When you have straight lines, you definitely need to make sure that is straight there. But there's really no need since this is a random design. So you always put in fold first. Put the embossing plate on top. And now I'll bring this up so you can really see the detail in this. The neat thing about these 3D ones, you got some that are raised, some that are depressed a little bit. I love how we get the different looks on this. Isn't that neat? Really, oh, I love this embossing folder. And the only way you can get it is if you place a $100 order, and then you can get this Power of Hope stamp set and the embossing folder. Pretty good deal. Okay, now I'm going to bring in, I think we've got all the stamping done and die cutting, so now we'll just start putting this puppy together. So I'm going to bring all of my flowers out here. So I've got my bigger ones. So there's those 3 different sizes. That one goes with this one. Make sure I got the right number here. So you've got 2 each of the smaller ones and then 3 of the big one. I'm going to bring in my Poppy Parade ink pad. And this is how I make them kind of look like cherry blossoms. Just take a little bit of ink, you don't need much, and lightly do the center. So I'm kind of pouncing up and down just a little bit and moving it just at least tiny bit because I still want those tips to be white. So we've done that. And with these that don't have a center, I just did the bottom part right here. So that's how you do that one. And this one right here has a little bit of a center. So I kind of do the center, but it's probably a little more on the bottom. So that's how you do those flowers. So I'll hurry up and finish the rest of them. Okay, they're all done. Now the trick is, oh, this one needs a little more. The trick is just use a very light touch. If you go hard at all, it's going to be a lot darker than you want it, and it's going to be a real, almost like a circle just put in the middle. So use a very, very light touch. Okay, now those are ready to go. This one, oh, this end's already popping out, so that'll come out. Sometimes you have to, these little holes, you'll use your, take your pick tool and kind of push it out a little bit, but so you can see how easy that came out. Now I'm going to bring in the piece that we embossed with the circle and make sure it's on the bottom. I've done this before where I did it on top by accident and it didn't work out with the flowers, so make sure it's on the bottom. Here's my pagoda, and I did make this so it was narrower than this. This is 4 inches wide, this is 3 3/4 inches, but I also made it bigger than the circle, so that way when you put it in here, you can kind of move it around until you get it just where you want it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to grab some multi-purpose glue, and I'm going to put some glue right around the circle, not too close to the edge, but not too far away either. I don't want any of the glue to squish into the opening. So just put a nice strip across here. And using glue also makes it so you can kind of move this a little bit. And the reason I put it out, so then if you do have to move it, you're not going to have any glue smearing on your picture. So I'm going to kind of play around with this, get it right where it needs to be, because I want that pagoda to be at the top right. Okay, then I can push it down. I don't have to worry about glue squishing out since I had it closer to the frame. And it looks like I almost went over. I think I did a little bit. I did just a little bit. I'm going to take my paper snips and just a little bit of white right there. And I'll trim the bottom of that white. It doesn't have to be perfect, as long as it's behind there. So there we go. So there is a way to fix that if it does go over a little bit. So that's ready to go. Let's go ahead and put this on my card base. Okay, just cover it up. Always make sure I get the edges first and then do the inside, because you don't want it popping up on you on the edges. Just put this right there in the middle. Hold it down for a few seconds so the glue has a chance to soak into the cardstock. That's pretty good. Cover this up so it doesn't start drying on the tip. So that's ready to go. Now we'll go ahead, let's go ahead and put the branch on. So here's the branch. I know I want it to go this way, so this is the back. And I'm going to grab that multi-purpose glue. I could have left that open. And you can use a fine tip glue pen if you like that better. Since I've still got this out, I didn't want to grab another glue. So I'm just going to do it very light. I'm barely squeezing this just to get a nice narrow band here. And just put it in a couple places where I think it needs to be. Probably there, a little bit here on the ends, because I don't want the ends popping up on me. And right here in the center of this. And when you hold the paper, you can get a lot lighter touch if you're holding the paper. If you put this down on your table, you're not going to feel how hard this tip is going onto the cardstock. When you've got it in your hand, you can feel it, and that way you know how light you're going. Then I'm going to turn this around. And I want this kind of be up at the top right corner, like so. And then I can hold the rest of it down. So the branch is ready to go. Now we can start putting the flowers on. Since I've got the glue out, I might as well finish this up this way. So I'm going to put, it's a little bit here on the inside. You can also use your snail. And I'm not putting it on the very tip, so that way I've got something to hold on to. And that one is going to go right here. I actually made that go down a little farther than I wanted to, so it's hanging off the cardstock. So when you do it, make sure that this is back a little farther. I think we ended up cutting some of this off and I forgot that part, but that's okay. This is still going to be pretty. I think it'll still fit in the envelope. So I've got that one there. And looks like I used both of those on the ends. So put a little bit here. I thought these looked good, and I like how it kind of goes over the opening too. Gives it a neat look. Then I used one of these larger ones. That's another thing. If you want to lay all the flowers down first, I've got that's what I did when I made my original card. I've got my card in front of me so I can kind of tell where I put it before. But you can lay them all down and then glue them down so you've got them where you want them. Now I could have stopped there with the flowers, but I thought they needed a little bling. So I'm using the Rhinestone Basic Jewels. Grab my Take Your Pick tool. Let's turn this around. Sometimes I'll try the spatula. Sometimes I do go back to the paper piercer. But I think I'm getting these picked up pretty good. I'm using the smallest rhinestones in the pack. I'm just putting one in each little center, in the center of where I put the Poppy Parade ink. So the ones that don't have pronounced centers, so this one kind of does. But these here on the end, I just kind of put them on the ends. That one didn't go right where I wanted it. There we go, that's a little better. This one will just go right in the center. Bring this down, make sure I'm still in the video. Screen. Okay, there we go. We got two more, so I'm just using all, because there's actually, with the rhinestone pack, there are more little ones than the other sizes. But I think the little, that's why I use those. But I also like the little size with this. I think the other sizes would have been too big for these centers. I just wanted a little bit of bling. So now the flowers are ready to go. Now let's go ahead and put the greeting on. So put a little bit of glue on here. Stick it down here. I want the edge to be lined up with the right edge of the strip to be with the right edge of the gray stone. And now the last thing I need to do is fussy cut this lady out. So I'll do that right now. Now, I don't know if you could tell in the sped up version, but when the trick to fussy cutting, you're actually moving the cardstock, and the scissors don't move that much. And that helps you get a much rounder effect. You don't get those choppy looks that you get if you're moving the scissors. You move the paper around. So now that I've got her fussy cut out, I'm going to grab some mini dimensionals. Since she was a little thin in areas, I thought those would work better because I want her popped up. Put a little bit there. There, and then right up here in the middle, I think, of her, the top, and that should be good. Actually, I think I'm going to put another little one. I could have actually used a larger one there, but I want to show you how you can just use one set of dimensionals. So at the top, you could definitely put just a regular mini dimensional if you've got both sizes. Okay, now she's ready to go. That's why I put it up in the right corner, so she could be right here looking. There we go. So even though I put that branch down a little farther than I did in my other one, that still makes a pretty card. Okay, that's it for today's card. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did enjoy this video and you haven't subscribed already, please click the subscribe button below in the bottom right corner. Once you click that, then you'll also see a little notification bell. Click on that and you'll get notified by YouTube every time I post a video, so that way you don't miss any. And if you live in the United States and do not have a demonstrator, Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, I'd love to be your demo. Just click the Contact Me button below if you don't have a catalog, and I'll get the current catalogs mailed out to you right away. And you can place an order online by clicking on the link to my online store. And make sure you see the host code at the bottom. That's for my Doily Rewards program. Every month I have a new host code. If you're watching this video during March 2020, you can use that host code that's here in the video. And for every $50 before shipping and tax that you place on the order, you earn a doily. Once you earn 10 doilies, you contact me and you've earned a $50 shopping spree on me. This is why I thank my customers for their business. I really appreciate all of you. Once you get the 10, you get the $50 shopping spree, and I even pay the shipping and tax. So like I said, I hope you enjoyed today's video. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.